Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MudRoom, our free Uncommon Sense parenting class. How is everybody doing? Are y'all done with winter like I am? Is it spring yet? Are y'all as over winter as I am? My kids are absolutely loving the combo of warm weather and 5 feet of snow on the ground. However, I am not. This month has been a little bit of a whirlwind for me. Last weekend, my dear grandfather passed at the very ripe old age of 105. So it wasn't unexpected. Once you get past 100, I think every day is a gift, really. But his loss is still a big one for me. My grandpa really modeled for me what being open-minded and kind is, while still maintaining boundaries and balance. He was always curious, always looking to learn something new. I remember when I started working in early intervention and was trying to explain to him what I do for a living. And, it was a new concept for him. He'd never really heard of autism or early intervention or Down syndrome. Those were terms that sure weren't around in the 1920s when he was growing up, or in the 40s and 50s when he was more my age. But he was so interested in learning. And we talked about how terms that were used in his day, like the R word and some others, were no longer acceptable. And I gave him those updated terms, and he just accepted them. There was no defending what was done back in my day or anything like that. He just knew better and then did better. And then he went out and he read a book written by an autistic author, and he watched a movie with an autistic character in it, so that the next time I saw him, we'd have more to talk about. So in his death, I've realized that so much of what I bring to Uncommon Sense parenting was modeled by him. So I'd like to dedicate this episode to him. Grandpa's favorite treat was ice cream. Ice cream wasn't easy to come by during the Depression when he was growing up. And so he always relished in keeping some in his freezer, and he delighted in serving us a scoop, even when our parents said that we couldn't. So if you'd like to honor a long life well lived and loved, have a scoop of ice cream for him. All right. Enough of that. Before we get into today's episode, allow me to introduce myself for those of you who are new. I'm Alana Robinson. I'm a parenting coach for parents of toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners, and I help you understand why your children are misbehaving and how to fix it without stickers, counting to 3, or losing your shit. I'm your host here on the MudRoom, as well as the host of the Parenting Posse Facebook group, and I'm the creator of the Parentability program, where I help you to raise well-behaved kids who listen. If you enjoy today's episode, make sure that you either comment, like, subscribe, leave a review, whatever the platform that you're listening to this on allows. We put this out on YouTube, Facebook, and as a podcast and a blog, so that you can get your fix no matter how you like to learn. And by engaging, you help to boost our signal so that more parents who need us can find us. So today we have a special guest. We were supposed to be joined by Jenny Hazan of Cam and Leo's Emotion School, but Jenny had a conflict, so we'll see her in a couple of months. And instead, I asked one of my former clients, Heather, to join us for a chat about her experience in Parentability. Heather is a mom of 2 who lives in Maryland, and her boys are autistic. Heather was a Parentability member for about a year and a half, and I sincerely adored working with her. So let's get into it. So thank you so much for joining us today, Heather. I'm so excited to chat with you. So let's start with, before joining Parentability, what were things like at home? What was going on?
Oh, wow. What wasn't going on is really the question. So when I joined Parentability, we had already been, or I should say the kids had been out of school for a year because of the lockdown. And in Maryland, the schools were really slow opening up. Mm-hmm. And my youngest, he just went from happy, chill, he had his preschool routine, to being upset all the time, throwing tantrums, stopped watching his favorite shows, stopped eating his favorite foods or any foods at all. wasn't sleeping, was having problems with potty training, or using the bathroom. He was just on a whole other level of, my kid is having a bad day. Like,
Yeah.
my kid is having bad months.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. And I was at my wit's end. I mean, everybody, I think, a year after everything shut down, they were just like done. Like, everyone was just done.
Yeah.
So we were done. I was done. And I remember talking to his pediatrician, and she was saying that he needed to have behavioral therapy. Well, we had done that with my oldest child. And quite frankly, it didn't really work.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked, but it didn't fully work because it was a lot of external, like, here's a chart. You do this, you get a sticker. You do this, you get another sticker. And I was like, I can't do that. I don't have the capacity. I don't want to do that. It did, I wanted a different approach. So I forgot where I found you. Oh, through OT Butterfly.
Oh, through Laura. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Laura and I are
Laura.
going to be doing an episode in a few months. So
Oh,
I look forward to that.
So I found you through her, and I was looking at your page and everything, and you were like, shoot me a DM if you have questions. So I think I shot you a DM.
Yeah, because I remember we were talking for a little bit before you joined, and you were wondering if I could like help you because E is autistic. So you were like, is this gonna work? And
exactly.
And I remember you telling me that you'd done the ABA therapy, and that like basically as soon as you stopped doing the charts and the rewards and all of that stuff, your oldest backslid. And so and I was like, well, we're going to try and not make that happen again. And give you guys the skills and give them the skills so that you don't have to constantly be on them anymore. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think your willingness to talk to me, like, for not just like, here's a paragraph and that's it, here's my product, there you go. You didn't do that. You were like talking to me, and I thought, oh, this lady's for real. She's legit. Because you're on the internet, you just don't know.
Totally. And it's a big decision to choose somebody to guide you on your children, right? Like that's a big deal. But I'm so glad that you trusted me and that we got to work together, because working with you has been one of the most fulfilling things of the last year for me. So when you first joined, what was your like initial win? What was like that first time that we really kind of, I remember there was something that we got him over a hump.
Oh gosh, what was that? Was it? I'm always like, was it the use of the timer, or was it the visual? I feel like it was the timer.
I think it was the timer too. And with getting him out the door, I think it was.
It was either the door or it was the videos. Oh, because he wanted, like, he'd say, I want this video. We turn it on 2 minutes later. I want this video.
Right.
Well, you got to watch this one first. Meltdown. Yeah. And it was like, oh my God.
Yes, that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
And we used the timer to keep him on one video, which is funny because for some parents, they would not consider keeping their child watching a video a win.
Right.
But that's one example of how, like, it depends on the kid what our goals are, right? And so I remember when you achieved that, I was like, yes, we've got our initial win there so that we can build off of that. And he was able to, like, keep watching one video through to the end, I think, pretty quickly, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, we first started off with, like, 10 minutes. Like, just give me 10 minutes, because at least I could get a cup of coffee, or I could sit and do something, or I could just sit, just 10 minutes. And then we were able to expand it to 15 and 20. And now he will watch an entire DVD. That's amazing. I know it does sound funny. Like, I'm trying to get my kid to watch TV, right? But it was really important for us because we were having to be the entertainment all the time. And no parent can do that.
No parent. It's not sustainable.
No.
So
So
what
that was,
other?
yeah, I would have to say the timer was our first win. And then when we started doing visuals, he was like, what? And even Sam, my oldest, was like, what's Eli got? You know, he wanted visuals too.
Yeah.
Um, so we really leaned hard into visuals.
So what changes have you noticed in Eli and Sam's behavior since joining Parentability? I guess that would be
Yeah,
my
I
next
would
question.
say transitions have been huge. They used to be really difficult. Now they go so smoothly. And of course, with the timer, but also them knowing, like, on the schedule, like, this is what we're doing next.
Yeah.
When and I swear this is on my end, is that when I'm not pointing to the schedule or I'm not following the schedule, I'm like, why are the kids acting weird? Oh, it's because I'm not saying, okay, what's next? Da 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 da. Now they do have, they're a little slower on the skill development.
Yeah. Which
Um,
is pretty typical
yeah,
for autistic kids.
yeah, but it's there, it's coming, and it's becoming more, what do you call it? More natural, more like, oh, okay, I got to do this. Like, for example, now Eli will just, grab his socks, put them on, and then go look for his shoes. He used to never even do that. It's like, and I know
That
most
makes me
parents are
so
like, what?
happy.
But this was a huge deal because,
Yeah.
it's just one more thing I don't have to do,
Right? It's the
that
mental
he
load that you
can
were
do.
having to carry for them because they couldn't plan and
Yeah.
prioritize, they couldn't organize. I think one of the biggest wins that I think I heard from you was when there was that situation at Eli's school and he was able to use his flexible thinking and not freak out.
Yes. Oh, yes. The flexible thinking. He is still working. It's still not his strongest, but he is getting so much better. Um, the other day we were in the car and we were just listening to music. The whole family, we like to
Yeah.
go for drives. And all of a sudden he'd just go, blah, like really loud. And we're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what are you
Scares the
doing?
crap out of you.
Yeah. So I said to him, Eli, you can't scream like that. Okay. We're all in the car. You can say mom or dad, excuse me, but you can't scream. And so, a couple minutes go by and he does it again. And I said, Eli, what did I say? And he says, don't scream. I'm like, that's right. So then the third time he does it again. And I just look at him. And he looks at me, he's like, don't scream. So it's like he remembered, like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to scream. And then he was quiet. That was the best part. It's like he remembered. And I remember you saying something like, how did you word it? You worded it like, sometimes you have to wait extra long so that they can process it and then they can get it in their own,
Yeah.
like it comes from them. It's not them repeating or just like, oh, this is the rule. It's like, oh yeah. It's like they're remembering the recall.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to scream. So
Well, that's a
I'm really
beautiful and
proud
very
of Eli for
visible
that.
example of that because like neurotypical kids do that too, but it's often less visible. They're doing it a little bit more internally and often with a lot more attitude. But
Yeah.
that's a beautiful example of how sometimes it really is about slowing down so that they can take the information in and then use it rather than just bombarding them with information.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I also learned that when he is having a meltdown, to just zip it. Just be quiet. Because I have a tendency to be like, what's wrong? What are you doing? What's going on? What's bothering you? And I'm asking all these questions. And when you talk about the parts of the brain and, the blue, what is it?
Blue brain and red
Brown,
brain.
red, and blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think, okay, he's in red brain. He's not hearing me. Zip it. And that has really helped a lot too. like, I keep him safe, and that sort of thing. But I try not to say anything or very little
Mm-hmm.
because, and I notice when I do that, he tends to come down faster
Yeah.
than if I'm asking him, oh, answer my question on top of this. It just frustrates him more,
Yeah, and requires
So,
more output from him when he's already struggling with output or input, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Oh, it's fantastic. So, what would you say was your favorite part about parentability?
Oh my. There were a lot of good parts. First of all, I love the coaching calls.
Yeah, those are my
I
favorite.
thought those were great.
Those are my
Lately I was like, I'm just here to listen because there's
Yeah,
always something that you can glean from somebody else's experience that they're going through.
yeah,
Um, so I really like those. The app was great.
yeah,
Um, Again, you can read everybody's experience.
yeah.
And just, you just you get cheered on, you cheer on other parents. It is a community. It's nice. It's just
It makes me so happy because when I started Parentability, well, before I started Parentability, I just coached privately.
Mhm.
And every single parent that I talked to was like, my child is the only child that does this. My child is the only one that has ever done this in the history of the world. And, nobody
Mhm.
else knows what this is like. And I was like, no, I literally have thousands of parents who are going through the same thing. And so in creating Parentability, that was one of my goals was to, even if y'all aren't best of friends, that you can see that other people are going through the same or very similar things as you are.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I think, especially in this digital age, well, things like this are awesome because we get to connect, across countries and state lines and all that. At the same time, it's really put us in a silo, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I also like that on the app, it's not just social, it's also
Mm.
educational. With the like the other day I was actually reading the get outdoors part.
Mm.
Because I'm like, okay, nature, very good. Let's see what we got to do with that.
Yeah.
And just like, it's informative, it's educational. It's got like everything there, you know what I mean? I love it. And I like that it's I don't know, I just felt like it was a good addition. Because oftentimes
Yeah.
you'll maybe meet someone
Mm-hmm.
who's trying to help you, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to make an appointment for another time. But the app, you can kind of like,
It's a little
help.
bit
I
more.
don't know what's going on right now. And then you
Yeah.
respond. You usually respond within like 5 hours max, like you're right
Yeah.
on point. And I just thought that was really good, especially on those really hard days in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I loved when you joined because some parents are a little bit more conservative and they'll come in and they'll just kind of read for the first couple of months and won't really engage much, which is fine. Um, but when clients like you come in and, we are kind of working through things a little bit more actively, it was just so neat to see how quickly we're progressing
Hmm.
and how the tone of your messages even went from like crisis to like, okay, I can see your crisis coming. um,
Right.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And so, you very quickly went from, okay, we're dealing with this immediate crisis to, I see the storm on the horizon and I would like to keep it there instead
Yeah,
of,
exactly.
and kind of deal with this a little bit more proactively, which was like my dream come true because being in crisis mode is exhausting.
Yeah, it really is. And I was like, I'm gonna my whole goal was do the work.
Mm,
Do the work so everyone can be happy. Like I just want
yeah.
everyone happy and calm and chill. That's all I want in life. So I was like, I'm gonna do the work and put in the effort. And you see results. It's not like you got like you take a pill or something and
Mm,
excuse me, you have to wait, 3 months down the road to see if you actually lost those 10 pounds, or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like, oh, the timer. Oh, immediately it worked. Oh, yes. Okay, let's keep going. So it's, these small wins that just kept me motivated to keep doing it. So,
Oh, it makes me so happy. Every time I think about you guys, I just get little happy chills. So how would you say being part of Parentability has impacted your relationship with your kids?
Well, first of all, a calm and happy mom makes for calm and happy kids most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. When I'm dysregulated, I can totally see it reflect in my kids.
Yeah.
Eli actually listens to me, like if he's in the middle of a tantrum, nobody's listening, right?
Yeah.
He can't. But afterwards, we talk about it and he's listening, excuse me. So he and I just, we've gotten closer. There's he's still testing boundaries and, at times he's not listening, but I do know that he understands, or he is kind of listening because he's looking at me when he's doing it. Before it was like he was just in his own world, but now,
He's referencing
Eli,
you.
yeah, he trusts me. Yeah, exactly. Um, and with Sammy's just like, oh, mom, thank you for all your hard work. This kid used to never compliment me on anything. He was very much daddy centric. But Sammy's like, you're such a good mom, those sorts of things. And I think like anticipating their needs, not just like physical needs, but their sensory needs. I think they really appreciate that a lot,
Yeah.
Um, so I just feel closer to them. I feel closer. I feel like we're more bonded. I feel like they understand, like, mom is loving and caring and helpful. When mom's having a hard day, I can try to be like mom and be loving and caring and helpful, sort of a thing. So
Yeah.
it's been good for our family. I'm
Oh, you're
thinking
gonna make me
back from
cry.
I'm just thinking about from when we first started. I mean, I was just like,
Yeah, because
to
it's
now.
overwhelming, and
Yeah.
oh, it just this is why every time I think about you guys, I get like happy little shivers because
Ah.
it makes me so happy to have seen your glow up. Like you guys are my dream manifest.
Oh. Well, we have a good teacher.
Yeah. Well, but you've also had a good team. Like I mean, I told you a lot of stuff, and you had to put it into place to actually do it. Like even when we were talking about like Eli's speech therapy, and you had to go out and find that speech therapist. You had to go out and advocate for him with his teacher. And I remember when school did go back, and there was some difficulties at school. You really had to go in there and be like, "This is why this is not working."
Yes.
And that's scary.
Yes.
That's hard. And you did
It is.
it.
But yeah, I did it. And you know what? You often talk about having the vocabulary. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was throwing out certain words, which of course I'm drawing a blank on now, they were like, oh yes, like they were more open to
Mm.
implementing what I knew would help him,
That makes
and
me
they
so
still
happy.
are, which is wonderful.
Well, and that's again when I was starting Parentability, I had a lot of people who initially joined and were put off by that, by the fact that I insist on you guys using these more clinical terms, because they didn't, it wasn't natural to them, and that's where the glossary like came in because people were like, oh, there's a lot of jargon in here. Um, but that's exactly why we do that, is because when I was an early interventionist, I saw it so many times where parents couldn't describe their child's needs or describe their child's behavior and doctors, teachers, therapists would be like really dismissive of them because their lack of concise and specific terminology made it sound like the problem really wasn't that big or it was
Yes.
vague.
Hmm.
And, you know, we're human, so even if those doctors, therapists, and teachers really wanted to help, if they didn't really have a clear picture of what the problem was, then it was very difficult for them to make those changes. And so it makes me so happy to see that that concept that made sense in my brain actually comes to life when you're using it with a remote client like you who, you know, had to learn those terms and was able to confidently advocate for her child using them.
Yeah. I mean, when I say I was all in, I was all in. Like, I'm like, this is my job. This is what I'm doing, this sort of a thing. And it really is, it's been so helpful, like tremendously so.
So if you had to pick like one thing that you thought was the most valuable thing that you learned in parentability, what would you say that that was? And I know that might be a big question because we've been working together for like a year and a half at this point.
Yes.
So we've gone over a lot.
I would have to say that I don't remember if it was a workshop or not, but it was teaching us about the parts of the brain, the brown, blue, and red, and
Mm-hmm.
what happens in each part. For some reason, and I don't know, it's because I like science and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, even when I would see Eli having a fit,
Mm-hmm.
I would say to myself, he's in red brain. Okay, he's in red brain. All right, when he's going to come down, we're going to get him back into blue brain. Like, just literally, thinking about the way that
Sorry. It
things
just
were
makes
like
me so happy
functioning.
because I know it's so much easier to manage your child's behavior, even when they're in a fit or something like that, when you know what's happening.
Exactly, exactly.
And it just makes me so happy to hear that to somebody who had no knowledge of this before coming into it made sense and is a useful tool for you.
Yeah. Because it gave me the why.
Yeah.
This is why, and this is why it's happening. This is why the behavior is that way because it's like here and it's going
Mm-hmm.
crazy and it needs to chill out and go this way, like that sort of thing. And I just thought, oh, that makes sense. I'm a why person. Well, why
Yeah.
is that? Um,
And I'm sure
so
that
to
why
me,
helped you tailor what you were doing to
yes,
intervene better.
yes,
Like you were saying earlier,
exactly.
where you shut up when he's having a tantrum. Um, that helps you feel better about that,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
a lot of parents that I've spoken to have been like, well, if I don't talk to them, I feel like I'm giving them the silent treatment. And okay, maybe in a different context,
Right.
but um, so I'm so happy to hear that that was so valuable to you because I think that's probably my favorite part too is
Yeah.
understanding the why.
Yeah. That and knowing that not everything should be taught in the moment, you
Mm.
know. And saying things like calm down. No one calms down when they're told to calm down.
So
I don't
true.
calm down.
Yeah.
In anything I'll be like, don't you tell me to calm down.
Gets you more belligerent.
Exactly. So like waiting until someone Eli is like more available.
Mm.
That's when you do the teaching. That's when everything, he'll be able to accept it and understand it, sort of a thing. And I
And that
just
builds that trust you were talking about earlier where, you know, you feel like you're more bonded to him and it makes it I remember it wasn't that long into to us working together. I think it was like last September where you said like he's he's calming down faster because he knows I'm not going to bombard him with that information while he's upset. And
exactly.
that you seem to have a stronger trust between the two of you because he knew he could come to you and you weren't going to make the meltdown worse.
Exactly. Yeah. And he kudos to him too for for learning a new
Yeah.
way. It's mainly parents, trying to get their kids to learn, but also the kids, they respond.
Yeah.
And I love it when they respond.
Me too. It's my favorite thing. So, okay, I'm going to let you go, but I have one last
Go
question
ahead.
for you. If you had to give advice to a parent who was thinking of joining Parentability, what would you tell them?
Don't hesitate. You're not a failure as a parent. Um,
Yes.
the fact that you're looking for answers means that you're a hell of a good parent.
Yes!
Absolutely. You love your kids so much that you're looking for answers. Um, and just fully immerse yourself in the program. Watch the workshops, read all the materials, and then implement it. And you'll get results. Absolutely, you will get results.
You can't argue with that. Oh, Heather, it's always such a joy to chat with you, and I am so honored and so thrilled to have been part of your journey. And thank you so much for coming and taking the time to talk with me today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.